Hello, welcome to TMW Online, the Melanated Way. I am Linda. That is Abby. We are covering all things 90 Day, the single life, the tell-all part 1 with new host of the single life, Ross Matthews. What were your overall thoughts on the new host and part 1 of the tell-all?
Overall thoughts is I like that we're getting this new host who clearly watched the show and is asking real questions that we really have. And we got a lot of good information that fills in blanks in this episode.
100%. 100%. You could tell that he's all in. He even said, like, normally I'm at home watching. So I love that. I do think that he moved the tell-all along quite well. However, I do want to say that, as you guys can see, he's reading a teleprompter and that's scripted for him because a lot of the things that he said were things that Sean would say in the order that she would say them, right? Like when you're dismissing a guest, thank you so much for being here. That's their cue to leave and all of that. So a lot of that stuff is beyond their control. However, he brought his personality and I think and his fandom, and I think that that's what the difference was. That being said, Vanya shows up first in New York City. She's at a vegan smoothie spot getting a fat loss smoothie. Tony and her are still fighting, and that wasn't surprising to me. Diana and Colt, we find out that Colt spent a couple of weeks in Colombia with his new quote-unquote girlfriend before he had to come back to the U.S. for the tell-all. Courtney and Philip showed up to the tell-all together, and she is making sure that Colt is not going to disrespect her in any shape, way, or form. Found it cute that Philip was like, this is going to be a great day. He's going to wear his lucky underwear, and his lucky underwear was Courtney's face and hearts all over the place. Pedro shows up. He has a surprise at the tell-all, and he says he has a surprise that's going to piss Sophie off. And to me, Abby, that made me feel like he's not over her at all. He's just trying to replace her, because why do you care to piss her off or not?
Right.
So, Sophie's bothered that Pedro won't film with her. They do the Between the Sheets, which I think I'm going to start watching because I feel like they drop a lot of tea there, and I haven't been watching it. But he refused with her. She's now, her narrative is that he ghosted her, but that's not the full story. And you guys, we all know that that's not the full story. Kimberly's nervous, but she's praying everything's going to be okay. And she mentions Liz at the top of the show, saying her and Liz are good friends. If she was going to say there's a best friend, Liz is her 90-day best friend, and they talk every day. Gino is feeling confident in the decisions that he's made. Liz is not the same person that she was on the DR trip, and her quote hoe phase is done, and we find out that she's engaged, and she shows us this big rock on her finger. And then we get to the studios, and the first people they pan to are Colt and Courtney, and they're backstage. They haven't talked or seen each other in 6 months, and Courtney starts calling him out, and he takes 0.0% responsibility. And then Vanya and Liz are overhearing it. They step into the room as well. Vanya's like, you don't want me to talk to you, Colt, about what type of person you are, because you're a scrub. You use people for money, for food, for shelter, for love, for sex, and then you go ahead and then talk crap about them behind their backs. You're a terrible individual. And what I thought was interesting, you guys, is off the jump, because the cast doesn't see the episodes before we see the episodes, so they film it, but they don't see what the cuts are, so they're watching alongside to see the edits. So it's so interesting to me how they respond to people. And I'll tell you, for the tell-all, everyone was responding to Colt the same way. And I don't know, Abby, if he is gonna look to see how he comes across and take that feedback and try to be a better man, or if he's just gonna get defensive, because it looks like he's just gonna get defensive.
Yeah, he's had multiple opportunities to get better. I do think the one good thing about reality TV is even if it's altered, you get to see who you are more so than just interacting in everyday life and never having a camera on you. And
Hmm.
some people become introspective behind that, and some people just continue on their ways. Colt is so embedded in his ways. He tells us it's his eighth tell all, and he hasn't changed his behavior at all. Also, something happened earlier that kind of got like glossed by that I think is kind of a big deal. Diana is Brazilian, right?
Hmm.
So why are they in Colombia? Are they in Colombia because those new immigration regulations that Brazil passed to stop passport bros?
Tell us more about that. I had no idea.
So Brazil has put some protections in place where you have to show that you have a certain amount of money in your account. They're monitoring more closely who's coming, how often those people come, and they're turning a lot more visitors away if they suspect you of nefarious behavior.
Hmm. I mean, I wouldn't be surprised. And, Colt fits that bill, so I would not be surprised at all. So Liz, Vanya, and Courtney, they go in on Colt. They just say, you're a liar, you're not a good person, all of that stuff. And then Gino pops in, and I laugh because they're like, "Oh, here comes Colt's backup," because Gino's problematic as well, you guys.
Hmm.
Find out backstage that this is how messy Colt is. So he cheats on Courtney, he cheats on Diana, the Brazilian girlfriend, and we also find out that he messaged Courtney's best friend, even though Courtney's best friend is married with a kid. Like he just has no scruples. He's one of those people he just throws it out there, and whoever responds, that's who he's gonna hook up with. And I just found that disgusting. Um, they get called to set. They go on set, and as soon as Sophie sees Pedro, she's like, why do you hate me? And I think it's really bothering her, Abby, that he's not talking to her or giving her any attention, because I do feel part of her MO is that she likes the attention. And he's like, I don't hate you. The past is the past. You betrayed me bad. And basically, I don't want to talk to you anymore. And then she's like, but we were friends and then you ghosted me. So again, she's trying to bring in that narrative without taking responsibility for her part in why they are not together right now. So there's tension all over the place because everyone's calling everyone out. Ross arrives, and we start talking about Pedro and Sophie and Between the Sheets. And Ross is like, have you guys seen each other since the DR? And they have not since that vacation. So this is the first time they're seeing each other in all of these months because, between filming and the tell all, there's a lot of time. And Ross says, did you leave the DR, Pedro, with a broken heart? And he's like, yeah, I left it with a broken heart because I really did want to be with Sophie. I think she's an amazing woman. We have a lot of things in common. And this is the second time Sophie's like, well, why do you hate me? And why are you avoiding me? And, you want to be separated and nowhere near me. And you've told the cast and crew that. And now you're acting like you love our friendship. And then again, for a second time, Pedro's like, well, I don't hate you. I just don't want to talk to you. That's it. I told the crew I don't want to be around her. And you know what, Abby? That's okay for him to do. He's
It
putting up
is.
his boundaries, and his boundaries are saying, maybe I'm not over you. Maybe my heart's broken, but whatever it is, I don't want to be around you. And it's okay for you to put up boundaries.
Hmm.
What are your thoughts?
Hmm. I was really surprised the number of people who were agreeing with Sophie and saying Pedro should talk to her. Like everybody who doesn't talk to me doesn't hate me. Where does she get that from? Just because he's not talking to you doesn't mean he hates you. He had a very good reason for not talking to you anymore. You guys were not on the same page about what you wanted. You both tried to force it. It didn't work out. He can go his own way. He doesn't have to keep talking to you. And she's like, we were friends. Y'all were never friends. What is this like loose definition of friendship? Friends are people who you talk to about important events and you hang out with each other, you meet each other's families, Like those are friends. Like I speak to you occasionally on social media is not friends.
Right. And they, I mean, they were more than that, right? They were dating, right? Because prior to coming to the DR, they were dating. They had they had gone on dates, they had gone on trips, there were gifts involved. So they were dating. And I just think that, if he wants a clean break from someone that he was dating in the past, he should be allowed to have a clean break. And that's that. You move your way and I move my way, and, our paths don't
Right.
cross. So be it. Because I don't even understand what would be the point of even wanting to be friends with him, because of what? He had feelings for you. He possibly still has feelings for you, but he's moved on. So you guys will never be friends because it's not
Mm-mm.
fully yoked. You are like,
Hmm.
dilly dallying, and he had true hardcore feelings for you. So it
Hmm.
would never be, it would
Just
never be a
just
friend.
wants the attention so bad. That was not destined to ever be a friendship. It wasn't a friendship before you started dating. There's nothing to revert to.
That part. Ross asked Liz how her health is. She's doing good. They found a new mass in her stomach, and at some point, she's going to need a hysterectomy in the future. We are wishing her just health and blessings and happiness on this journey that she's on right now. Ross goes on to say, "Why is your left hand so heavy?" She has a 4, not 1, y'all, not 2, y'all, not 3, you're a 4-carat diamond ring weighing her left hand down. Well, I should be doing this. Left hand down. She's engaged to a guy named Alex, and that's the other guy that she was seeing when she went to the Dominican Republic. And so she chose Alec, obviously. We move on to Gino, and Ross is like, "So you broke up with Natalie? Like, why? She's gorgeous. You felt comfortable taking your hat off with her." The shade. And she's like, "Well, we were better off as friends." And then Colt chimes in and calls him a spineless MF for breaking up with Natalie on FaceTime, like a FaceTime HR call, which is exactly what it was. I got to tell you that description was completely accurate. And then some of the other cast members also chime in and say, "Yeah, like that was messed up of you to do that. You should have done it in person." And Gino tries to make it a timing thing. And then the camera pans to Courtney because Courtney's face is looking at Colt, like, what's happening here? And she's like, "Where am I? Where in this world is Colt lecturing Gino on making good choices?" Facts.
That was pretty funny when she called him out, but I don't actually have any problem with what Gino did. Everybody was getting on to him, and I was like, well, why would they don't live in the same place? If they lived in the same city, it would be different. But why would he fly to go see her or she fly to go see him just for him to break up with her in person?
I agree with you.
So
However, I feel like Gino is spineless. He's
he
spineless.
is spineless. He
Mhm.
is spineless, like in general, but this particular situation, I don't think is one that showed him as spineless. Now, he said something that was very spineless. He said, I didn't break up with Natalie. I just told her that we were better off as friends. Like, that's stupid. That's spineless. Like, own what you did. But I don't think him doing this over a phone call is necessarily improper when they do not live in the same state.
Let us know what you think in the live chat, or if you're watching the replay. Can you break up with someone via FaceTime or on the phone or via text if you guys are in a long distance relationship? Let us know. Moving on to Courtney. Ross asked the question that we all thought, and this is why I was like, okay, I'm feeling Ross right now. He's like, we all want to know why. Why did you help him? Why did you pick him up from the airport? Why did you bathe him? Why did you clean him? Why did you feed him? Why did you house him? All of those things. And one of the things that shout out to Silver Lining, because I know that this is a question that both Abby and I had, and because we had not seen the season that they were on together. And she says, Courtney and Colt met on Hunt for Love. He was pursuing her, and she was between him and Usman. He went to her cabana to have breakfast. It had rained overnight, and while he was leaving her cabana, he fell and broke his leg. She freaked out, cried, and went to the hospital with him, and they bonded in the hospital. And then she was upset about something, and he came over to have the breakfast and talk. And so she felt like if he hadn't come over to her, then he wouldn't have fallen.
Mm-hmm.
So that being said, that's what she was talking about on the tell-all, where he broke his leg at the retreat at her door, and she felt guilty and responsible. And then she started crying. And this is why I know that she has a big heart, because she was worried that he was never going to walk again. And she's putting all that blame on herself. And she literally said it was a long journey making sure he could walk again. So she really did feel that that was her responsibility. Now, it absolutely was not her responsibility. And she shouldn't own that and take that on, as a nice person. Obviously, that's what she did, but absolutely not her responsibility, especially when this fool is a user 2x4.
Mm-hmm.
Kim was up next, and she feels free because she told her full story. And she talks about how everyone was talking. Well, Ross says, you were the big talk online this season. And she responds by saying that she doesn't regret anything that she's done. She just regrets how she handled it with Jamal. And I think she has regret. Because as we move on in this tell-all, she talks a little bit more about this whole adoption process and her other children. And so I don't know if I necessarily believe this, where she says she doesn't have regrets on how she handled things, or she doesn't have regrets in what she's done. She just has regrets in how she handled it with Jamal. I think there's more to it, and we'll get to that when we get to her in more depth.
Yes.
And we'll talk about Wayne a little bit later as well. Moving on to Vanya, Ross calls out, "Hey, I see that there's no ring on your finger." Danielle burned her up, right? Burned her up because that's her end all be all. She just wants to be married. And she's like, "Yeah, I don't know what's going on with Tony and his timeline, but no, she's not engaged. They are not engaged." And so that was the beginning. So we start off the tell-all with Sophie and Pedro. And one of the things I thought was interesting, Abby, is that Ross is like, "So where are you in this divorce?" So in the beginning of the season, she had just filed for divorce. And now she's like, we're towards the end of it, which sounds to me like she's not divorced yet. Is that how you took it, Abby?
Absolutely. Because if the divorce was already done, she would have said, "Oh, it's completed now." She's saying it's towards the end. To me, that would indicate like they've been through mediation if it's required by their state, and maybe the final court date is set, but they still have a few issues the judge has to decide they weren't able to resolve amongst themselves. That would be the only way that I would say it was near the end.
Mm-hmm.
Now, what she means by near the end may be completely different.
Mm.
If there's no final court date set, I wouldn't consider that near the end.
Yep. She admits in the tell-all that she wasn't over Rob when she was in the DR. And I was like, that's the most honest thing she said. It's unfortunate that it's taken her all of these months to realize that she wasn't over Rob. But I mean, that first night that she got there, she was talking about how she was still hooking up with him. So, I mean, that really set the tone for the rest of the trip. Julia comes out. Congratulations to her. She had her baby. It's a baby boy. She does share something very intimate about her delivery. And she was on the fence about having a baby. and what that looked like for her. So her sharing this part of it was really touching to me, because she said, Brandon almost lost us because the umbilical cord was wrapped around her baby's neck. And so that in labor is dangerous, not only for the child, but for the mother as well. So they had to do an emergency C-section, but thank goodness everything turned out. And as of the taping, her baby was 4 months old. I just want to say this, you guys, like women, we just really do go through a lot. We really do go through a lot. And the statistics for women of color as well, too, is really sad and not talked about enough. A lot of women of color die in child delivery and aren't subject to the same standard and level of healthcare that they really should have available to them. And that makes me that makes me really sad. I can't remember her name, but there is a major influencer that talked about her journey. We followed her quest for love, and she got pregnant, and she recently passed in delivery. And I just think that we don't talk about it enough at all. That being said, what up, Olivia? She says, women are incredible beings. We really are. We really, really are. Sophie was giving mixed signals in the Dominican Republic. That is we all agree. Yes, Ross, thank you for saying that out loud, because that's exactly what the problem was. She was giving Pedro mixed signals because she didn't know what she wanted. And you guys, you shouldn't date and mess around with people's feelings, because you know what? Especially in 2026, people are unstable. They are unstable. You then a lot of them don't do the work. They don't seek outside help. They don't go to counseling, therapy, or whatever. And so you start messing with their feelings, and you're surprised when they turn around and start like crashing out. Don't play with your feelings with people's feelings. If you don't know what you want, make sure that you either tell the person, I don't know what I want, and continue to tell that person every single moment of every single day, or maybe don't date until you know what you want. Pedro says, looking back on his relationship with Sophie, that it was a waste of time, but it doesn't matter now because he's closed that chapter and he's moved on. And he feels nothing for her now. Now, I don't believe a word of that either. I think he still has a lot of feelings for her. And men deal with their suppressed feelings completely different than women. So he suppressed it, and he feels like out of sight, out of mind. But because now he's in front of her, it's bringing up all these feelings, and he's saying these words, but I don't think the actions match the words. I think he does still feel for her, and he hasn't dealt with those feelings. But instead of dealing with it, he's just moved on to the next girl, which is something that a lot of people do. What are your thoughts, Abby?
I would say that maybe he doesn't actually have feelings for Sophie, but he definitely has feelings about being rejected, because he makes a point of saying that he brought her to his country and she hooked up with somebody else from his country that wasn't him. And he still has comments about, why would that person get a kiss from you when I did all these things for you and I only got 1 or 2 kisses from you. I feel like that was a little bit more, why did you reject me, as opposed to, I really liked you.
But then if it's only about rejection and he doesn't really care and he's over it, then why mention that?
Because men don't like to be rejected, even if they don't care for you. That's the same reason why, like, a man will walk up to you in the street, ask for your number, and when you say no, thank you, he's like, you fat bitch, cunt. You know what I mean? Like, it's the same thing that happens there. If you thought all those things about me, why'd you even walk over here to me?
It's a very good point. Pedro thought he was going to be in a relationship with her, but she pulled back because she was not ready, she says. And he's like, I offered her everything. And just like Abby said, she rejected me. Um, and then Colt and Gino's like, yeah, you rejected him. You rejected him. And I thought, the two biggest incels of the season are agreeing on rejection. Why? Because that's how they live their lives. They live their lives in that incel behavior atmosphere. Sophie gets mad that Colt says that and tells him to shut the F up. And she says, not to talk to her, and you can't even get it up, so I don't care about your opinion, and then tells him to shut up. Those were cutting words. Not a lot of words, but very cutting words. Colt gets triggered, tells her back to shut the F up as well. And I just thought that was a really interesting moment because the triggers for both were dead on, right? Because Colt gets triggered when people call him out. And that's why I'm interested to know if he learned anything from seeing himself self-reflect, especially on the tell-all, where the entire cast felt the exact same way about him. Sophie goes on to say that at the end of the day, Pedro was doing relationship things and she was not ready for a relationship. But again, I need her to take ownership for her part of it because you did lead him to believe that you guys were going in that direction. And even though you got there and then you started saying, oh, but I'm single, I'm single, I'm single. Yeah, you're single, but you led him to believe that you guys were moving in the direction to be an exclusive relationship. Now, you probably should have said that from when you first started dating, or you should have just not dated him. And also, Colt brought up the necklace. You probably, that $2,000 necklace, you shouldn't have received that. And, you should have brought it to the Dominican Republic and given it back, said, you know what, let me not lead you on. I know you spent a lot of money on this, but I'm just not there. I'm still having feelings for my ex-husband or my husband.
She's never going to do that because she wanted the attention.
That's what it is. That's 100% what it is. We're moving on to, we're still with Sophie and Pedro, and then Nicole comes. And let me tell you, I had so many feelings about this, you guys. Okay. Nicole comes on via video, and she immediately calls out Sophie for playing with Pedro's feelings. She says, you know what? Pedro was very clear about his feelings for you, and you were using Pedro to get Rob jealous. No one in the cast agreed with that. I don't think she was using Pedro to get Rob jealous. I think she was using Pedro for the attention that she was getting from him and the trips and the gifts and all of that stuff. One of the things that I think that Sophie enjoys, and we're seeing that in the new season of The Single Life, the new season of the original 90 Day with, what's her name? Katie. Attention, male attention. That's what she thrives on. Even on this girls trip, she made it male centered. It was about Pedro. It was about going on dates and then having like verbal diarrhea about these men to your girls. It wasn't like, hey, let's go on a girls excursion. Hey, let's spend some girls time. Yes, there was that. But when we were spending girls time, it was about talking about the men that giving you or not giving you the attention that you want. So I don't think it was about making Rob jealous. I think it was about attention. The cast says, go ahead.
I thought Vanya spoke very clearly to Nicole, and I hope that maybe Nicole can receive it at a time when she's not being kind of attacked by everybody, because the way that she laid out the facts of what happened was very objective and not accusatory, and just I think it was kind of like, I just want to help you to be a better sister.
Yeah. So the the cast says, you have a history about getting in between Pedro and his love life. And Nicole's like, no, 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 my brother's naive. He thinks everyone's good people, and that's not true. And then Vanya explains to her, hey, listen, you attacked Sophie immediately as soon as she got to your party. And then that was not okay. And Julia chimes in and says, I have a good relationship with Nicole, but it's only because she doesn't feel I'm, quote, taking her brother away. And I thought that was such a good point, because here's what happens, you guys. Here's what happens in a little bit. I'm going to explain to you why that was such a good point. So Sophie says to Nicole, you don't want him to be happy. You attack everyone he's with. You did this with me. You did it with Chantel, and you're the problem. And Nicole's like, well, what do you want me to do? And she's like, well, say sorry. And she's like, no sorry was going to be had. And then Colt jumps in and says, well, Pedro, you made your choice. You chose your family over Sophie. And Ross asked a very good question. He's like, Pedro, do you feel like you missed an opportunity to stand up for Sophie? And Pedro actually said, yeah, he did. And what I thought was great is, like, he also does want to learn from his mistakes. Now, will he learn from mistakes? We'll find out, because they show a clip from Sophie's date with Brian, and Pedro still cared, in my opinion, because he's like, oh, let me see this, because she said that it was just a small kiss. But obviously it wasn't a small kiss. They made out. And here's where Pedro, in my opinion, got in his feelings and said, you never kissed me like that. And then this is where Ross was trying to get messy. He asked Sophie who was a better kisser, Brian or Pedro. And Sophie answered very diplomatically. She said, well, Brian was fun to kiss, but Pedro brought the passion. So I would choose the passion. And then not only did Vanya speak to Nicole, Ross, the host, tells Nicole that she's the reason why Sophie and Pedro's relationship didn't progress further. And it was such a valid point, but it was like washed over. She didn't receive it. They didn't discuss it any further. And I thought that was a missed opportunity, because everyone's telling Nicole, hey, listen, you need to see what you're doing in your brother's relationship. You need to see how each time you're the problem. And because he's so loyal to you and your mom, he may be missing out on loves of his life. And speaking of loves of his life, he has a new girlfriend named Valentina. She too is from Colombia, or lives in Colombia. He feels she's beautiful and amazing, and, quote, the love of his life. And it was so funny because she came on, and y'all, she is very beautiful. Liz puts her glasses on to look closer and says, oh, she's hot. They panned to Sophie's face. Sophie looked jealous. But you know what? They also panned to Nicole's face, and Nicole looked jealous, Abby. Her face all squinted up. I was like, oh. When Julia said, I have a good relationship with Nicole, but it's because I'm not trying to take her brother away. No, I'm not saying it in like a weird way. I'm saying it in, there was never a man of the household, right? Because the mom had always been the side chick, and they are the side chick babies. And so Pedro became the man of the house. And oftentimes single women do that with their sons, where they create this relationship where their child also has a dual relationship status And that dual relationship is they're the men of the household. They take care of the females in the traditional way, like financially, as the protector, and all of those things. And so, if you think about it, even to this day, that's the role that Pedro plays for both his mom and his sister. So, any woman that's going to come into the life and his life and their life that disrupts that for them, she's going to have hate for her. What are your thoughts on that?
So question, Linda and everybody in the chat. Have you, with your siblings, ever felt like jealousy or been upset at your sibling, like progressing in their love life?
Not me.
Really? What is the age difference between you and your oldest sibling?
Oh, my oldest sibling is a lot older. He is 9 years older.
Okay. So my oldest sister is 16 years older than me.
Mm-hmm.
But my sister that's closest to me in age, I remember being so upset when she wanted her key back to her apartment because she was getting engaged and they had agreed that they were going to like just live differently and not have people like coming and going. And so she was like, yeah, I need your key back. And I was so mad. So like I threw a full-on tantrum.
That's cute.
In my room about it, but I evolved past where Nicole is because I eventually took him on as a sibling as well. And so it just increased the love. You know, she could take Valentina on or whomever else that Pedro dates in the future as an asset. Like, even if she doesn't want to look at them as like a personal emotional connection, she's talking about all these trips that Valentina goes on. Why not be like, hey girl, talk to me about like what kind of work you do and how you go on these trips? Like, why does she never look at it as an advantage?
Well, it's because she, again, grew up with a side chick mom and has a side chick mentality. And so when they introduced Valentina, we find out that she met Pedro on Instagram. Everyone's meeting people on Instagram, sliding into DMs, taking their shots, shooting their shots. She found out that he was in Colombia. She DM'd him, and the rest from there is history. And they're on the same page with what they want, and which is important. I continue to tell you guys, you need to have these conversations up front so you're not wasting time. Like we're going to talk about Vanya later. She wants kids. She wants family. He wants kids. He wants family. Great. Those are the conversations. You're going to have to talk about religion. You're going to have to talk about finance. You're going to have to talk about family and all of those things. But it looks like they are having the conversations up front. Ross asks, Nicole, is she, Valentina, a better fit for your brother? And this is where she's like, I don't think so. I see pictures of her in Dubai and the UK and never a family with her. So I'm not sure who's sponsoring all of this. God forbid you go on a trip and you pay for the trip by yourself. Shocker. Shocker. Like, my birthday's coming up. I'm going on a trip. I paid for the trip. You all need to settle down. It's that unless you only have a side chick mentality, that's Nicole. Nicole thinks, oh, I can't do anything unless a man is paying for it. So I can't go to Dubai because a man didn't pay for it, or I got to Dubai because a man paid for it. Well, no. Valentina is like, you literally are misinformed, and says, you're speaking from a place of ignorance. Fact. She's a psychologist and a specialist. She paid for her own trips. And if Nicole took a moment to actually get to know her before she accused her of being an escort, she probably would find that out. So yeah, she makes and pays for her own trips, period, full stop. Pedro then asked his sister, do you want me to be happy? Like, do you? Because you're already starting in on this girl that you haven't even met, and you're already calling her names. which is why I said that she's jealous and doesn't want to actually have her brother be happy with another woman, because then who is going to be that male figure that takes care of her and her mom?
Mm-hmm.
Petter goes on to say, because next month I'm bringing her to meet Mama and get the blessings. So I'm going to marry her. This is the love of my life. Nicole's like, it's too soon. We're still trying to overcome Sophie. Overcome Sophie? You didn't even give her a chance. What's there to overcome? You met her for less than 2 hours and attacked her and scared her away. You did the same thing with Chantel, and you're now trying to do the same thing with Valentina. Like, when do you see that you're the problem? Ross says, what happened with Chantel, what happened to Sophie is going to happen to Valentina. And Pedro's like, no, because I want to marry her. And whether I have my mom's blessing or not, I'm going to move forward with my life. Did you believe that's what he meant?
I would like to believe that he's strong enough, but he's already showed us on important occasions that he's not. So I'll have to see it to believe it.
Same. Moving on to Kimberly. Ross says you have a new body, a new outlook on life, and a new man. And so what else is going on with you? She says that she's going back to the UK for her birthday to see Wayne for a week. And it's just going to be her and him. They've been together for, as of airing the tell-all, or as of taping the tell-all, 9 months. And she considers them exclusive. However, there's no title. Here's where I thought it was interesting, because Vanya's like, titles are really important. And then Kimberly said, well, titles are childish. But I'm confused because in the last episode, you asked him specifically, so are you my boyfriend now? If you don't care about titles and you think they're childish, then why would you ask him that question if you didn't care about it?
She's lying. She does care about it. We watched her beg Usman for a title. We watched her say she wanted a title when dealing with Wayne, but she's just simply changed her mind because Wayne has decided he's not giving her a title. And because Kimberly doesn't have her own mind and she's just doing whatever a man wants her to do in order to keep them in her life, she's like, oh, well, titles are not important. I mean, when he said hashtag girlfriend, she was so excited. Obviously, titles do matter to you, girl. And she's just, oh, Kim. I can't like her out of her just being so incredibly male-centered.
I know Kim personally, and I do like her, and she's a good person, to be honest, you guys. But I do think that there are some deep-seated issues that need to be addressed. And
incredibly deep. Incredibly deep.
I think that she's not been, like she said, in a good, healthy relationship before. So she's wading her way through that stuff. But I do think that titles are important. And so I was surprised that she said that she thought it was childish, because I think it's more important than she's leading on. Vanya, we all know, thinks titles are important, period, full stop. And when they're asked, like, what is it that you're doing? And then Kimberly says, oh, we're seeing each other. Sophie's like, well, I'm from England. And when you're saying you're seeing someone, that's not official title. That's just like, I'm dating that person. They bring up Jamal, and Jamal talks about how his mom is his best friend. And, Ross is like, how is your relationship now? And he said, it's been messy for the past couple of years. But that's my mom. That's my person. And, it all stemmed from, and Abby is the one that actually brought this to, TMW Online's attention about the catfish part. I had not seen that until Abby told us, but then they mentioned it on the tell-all, where Kimberly spent the first 3 months when Larry found her. She represented herself as Jamal, and then I guess found some online number that was separate than her number and was corresponding for 3 months with her son, but as the brother. And then it wasn't till literally the day of Jamal and Larry talking that Jamal found out that he had been talking to Larry via Kimberly. Kimberly was acting as Jamal for 3 months. So he got really emotional. But he felt weird. He felt weird because he didn't know what Kimberly had told Larry in the 3 months. He didn't like that's a lot to process. You're a grown man. You now have a couple of siblings that you didn't know anything about, and then you were having conversations that you actually were not even having. And then, your mom is still your best friend, and the mom you only have, and that's your primary person, right? Because you don't have a relationship with your biological father. So there's a lot tied up in that. And so I can understand that's a lot to work through for Jamal. And so that's the part where it got messy for him. Kimberly starts crying. And you could see, in my mind, you could see her shame. And that's why I feel like going back to the very beginning where she talks about how she feels free. I'm just like, I'm not sure if you feel 100% free as of yet, because as soon as Jamal said that, you broke down, and you could see the shame coming out of her. And so I think she just has still a lot to work through. What do you think?
I agree. I don't think is truly free because she's constantly trying to make qualifiers for her behavior. If you really feel free about what you did, then you wouldn't feel the need to say, but I wasn't irresponsible. But I wasn't with different men. And like, why are you making all these qualifiers for the behavior if you are free and you don't feel any kind of way about it? Also, this segment where Jamal is telling the story of what happened, and he's only telling the story because he's trying to give context to people saying that he didn't respond to his mom very nicely. So he's like, well, this is what you guys didn't see, you know? So he's not just like coming out here to put her on blast. But when she started crying and he goes to comfort her, I was pissed off because you're the parent. You are the parent. You are the one who caused the harm. He shouldn't have to comfort you in that moment. He's been parentified for so long that he feels like it's his job to manage his mom's feelings, and that's not right. When you're the child and your parent has committed some offense against you, I don't care if the parent is 80 and you're 40, you are the parent in that moment. You manage your feelings and you apologize to your child. You don't sit up here and boo-hoo cry because of what you did. Like, and we're not talking about the giving the kids away for adoption, by the way. Like, I'm talking about the 3 months of catfishing your own adopted son. And then just expecting Jamal to just get over with it. Oh, I told him that he could talk to you today, so hurry up, take the phone and talk to him. And now Jamal's in this like really awkward position that you've created for absolutely no reason. And he's the one that has to come over and comfort you. I was angry. I was livid.
Olivia says that's so messed up of Kim and says preach. Ross asked why did you do this? Why did you catfish, your own son? And I wasn't really clear about the answer. She said when Larry found her, she was feeling protective of her relationship with Jamal and she wasn't ready. She knew it was wrong, but it bought her time.
You know what else would have bought you time? If you said, I'm actually logged into Jamal's account right now. I'm Kim. I'm your biological mother, but I just need some time to sit with this. I'm so glad that you found us, but I need some time to sit with this. I need some time to explain to Jamal what's going on, and I'll get back to you. That would have also bought you some time. But instead, you decided to go commit crimes. I mean, like, not really. You didn't commit crimes, but you know what I'm saying? Like, why would you compound the hurt and the sadness in that way?
I forgot about this, Olivia. Olivia says, I can't get over the fact that when she was with Usman, she was willing to adopt Usman's two nephews. Meanwhile, her own two kids were out there and she didn't mend the bond. Despicable. Sorry. That's what she says, Olivia.
And remember what she said? She said that she was willing to adopt them, but she did not want to take part in raising them at all. It would be his responsibility to raise them. She would just be the one to do like the paperwork for them.
Mm-hmm. I forgot about all of that.
Yeah. So Kim, she still has some things that I think she really needs to get down to the bottom of before she continue. I mean, like, whatever, she's grown, she do whatever she wants, but I just don't think it's going to be successful until she really does some deep analysis. And to her detriment, Jamal coddling her feelings is not helping her grow.
Mm.
You know, you got to sit with it. When you feel that shame and you feel that embarrassment, you have to sit with it and work through it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, you got to work on the issues, you guys. The issues are going to be there until you work on them and move through them. Absolutely. Colt says something about Kimberly's shame, and Jamal sticks up for Kimberly and says, you know, Colt, you would know shame. And then one of the things I really appreciate about Jamal is he's a straight shooter. He's going to tell you exactly how he feels. And he says, I don't like you very much. I think you're a sad man. And he said, you know, one time someone compared me to you because we were both raised by single moms, but you let people feel bad for you because you were raised by a single mom, and then you use it to your advantage. And I'm throwing in to manipulate people, to gaslight people, to get one up on people, to love bomb people, to get what he wants. No accountability. Colt is another person that does not take any accountability for any of his actions, period, full stop. Always plays the victim, always sees how he, as a victim, can you know how you know how some people, Munchausen by proxy, he's that personified. He wants to be the victim and wants that attention, and it's a different type of attention than that what Sophie wants. It's more like, ooh, woe is me, take care of me, that. And so Colt and Jamal get into it. Colt calls Jamal the P word. Jamal's like, but I'm a man that has a job, a big boy job. I have a degree, and you need to grow up. And then this is where he's like, I have a job. I'm a software developer. Colt, when did you start working? When did you start working?
He's talking about things he used to do in the past.
In the past.
And Jamal was correct. Like, the things that he said to Colt were correct. But to me, the way that it flew off his tongue, for me, it gave misdirected anger more than I really want to tell Colt how I feel about him right now.
Interesting. I thought Colt deserved all that anger because
Colt deserves everything that he gets.
I feel like Colt deserved all of that, and he deserved it specifically from a man because that is what triggered him. Colt is like, what kind of man comes after another man? And I was like, oh, because you know what? Colt likes to gaslight women, and he feels like he can roll through women, including his own mom. And when a man, because they're, you know, I'm not saying Colt is this. I'm comparing it to this example. My example is men who are controlling and have abusive personality types. They like to dominate women, but when another man confronts them on their poor behavior, they don't know what to do with themselves. And that is the framework that I saw going on. I saw Colt reacting to a man telling him to his face the type of person that he's coming across as. And Colt didn't like that one bit. And then Colt actually wanted to say, he freaks out and says, what do you want to do about this? Colt, you're not going to fight anyone. You can barely walk without falling down and breaking legs. So, like, stop trying to be the machismo man, because that's absolutely not you. Even as you sit on the couch like a big old slob, like no, Jamal would run circles over you.
I said Linda's gonna be like so annoyed at how Colt and Tony are just flopped all over the couch.
Can't stand it. Can't stand it. Colt, excuse me, Jamal calls him a dumb cockroach. Oh no, a bum, because bum is actually even way better. Because I don't think Colt's dumb. I just think he's lazy. He's a bum cockroach leech, and those three things are absolutely true about Colt. Kim's like, can we circle back and bring it back to me because I wasn't done? I want to apologize to Jamal one last time for the catfishing and all of that stuff. And then they bring Wayne, her boyfriend, on. He says, and I found that he was exactly who he was when she was in England. He's very kind of, I don't know, he comes across to me as on the fence with this. Like, yeah, I'm having a good time, but I'm not totally committed to anything. I'm just going to see where it goes. So he said the trip was good. He was surprised seeing Jamal there, but thinks that Jamal's a good man. He looks after his mom. Ross says, is Kim your girlfriend? And he stands 10 toes in, deep down on his original answer, which was, we're seeing each other. And the cast is like, well, what does that even mean? He's like, well, seeing each other is a form of relationship. But we're not boyfriend and girlfriend. But then Kim jumps in and says, but we're not seeing anyone else. And when they pan to her face, that's how I know when she said that she didn't care about titles, it's childish, that she does care, because when they pan to her face and he said that we're not boyfriend and girlfriend, she had a reaction to it, and you saw it in her face. Vanya asks Wayne, what's your hesitation about a title? And Wayne's like, well, would you call someone a boyfriend or girlfriend after one date? And then Ross is like, do you know Vanya? Because yes, she would. And then Vanya says, well, are you considering marriage at some point? Which I thought was an excellent question. And again, when they panned over to Kimberly's face, when he was saying that he has no plans to get married again because he was married for 14 years. I'm trying to tell y'all, believe men when they tell you what they tell you. Believe them the first time. Because then he goes on to say, but I will never say never. No, fool, you said you have no plans to get married ever again. So 5 years down the road, when Kimberly wants to get married, you're going to be like, but I told you I don't ever want to get married again. But, I'm never going to say never. And then another 5 years is going to go on. No, you guys, no. Men know.
I mean, this is not going to happen anyway, because as much as Kim says she doesn't care about living in sin, immigration does. Immigration does. You can't just move to England, and he can't just move to the U.S. without taking some kind of action regarding immigration.
100%. But then Kimberly says that she's okay not getting married. But my note said her face said something else again. Like, I think as women, we really need to just stand in what we want. And I think if you don't stand in what you want, that's how you get into relationships that are not going to be long-term relationships and end up not being what you originally want. And I hate for women to not only settle because they don't feel completed unless they have a man, but I also hate seeing women not stand in their convictions. And your convictions should be enough for you. And why I say that is because, for example, I will speak for myself. For me, without giving my full list away, but faith is important to me. Intimacy is important to me. Communication is important to me. Those are some of the things that they're just absolutely non-negotiables. And I would rather that you're going to start resenting your partner for, even though you're like, oh no, it's okay for now. It's not going to be okay in the long term because you're going to resent them for the same things that you said were important to you, but they weren't important to them. So I say all that to say, like, don't settle. I just like, your worth is not only in a man. It should be, your worth should be about you and your life and what you are proud of for yourself, your accomplishments, your family, your friends, your social circle, your faith, whatever it is. All of those things complete who you are as a person. And guess what? You were a complete person before you met that other person. And when I keep saying to you guys, it's two pillars that are coming together to build the house and the foundation. That's what it is. Those two pillars don't merge into one pillar. You can't build a house on one pillar. Oops, said that out loud. Side note, Abby, did you see Liz's body language when she was sitting beside Gina at the hotel all?
No, I didn't notice anything.
Watch it. Liz is sitting beside Gino the whole tell-all like this, and I was laughing the whole time. Like, she's like this, like, just, I want to be away from him. I want to be away from him. Moving on to Tony and Vanya, unless you want to add something else about Kimberly.
I have one more thing I want to say about Kimberly and Jamal, and I think you're going to disagree with me. So, Olivia, tell us how you feel too. Everybody else in the chat. Jamal said, when Wayne said, I appreciate the way that you take care of your mom, or that you're there for your mom, he said, she's the only one I get, so I have to. I actually disagree with that. I think that if your parents have put you in bad situations, that you have every right to abandon them. And I don't mean abandon them as in never speak to them again, but I don't think you have to be the one to make them whole again or repair their feelings or make them feel like they were a good parent if they weren't a good parent. And I think that when you leave that space for the parent to know that they were wrong, that you can actually help them grow. I will give an example. I was very mad at my mom for something that happened when I was 14 years old, and I acted out a lot because of it. And when she finally sat me down and apologized for what happened, and like gave me some background and told me things about her own life, not as an excuse, but as to how we arrived at that point, it made our relationship better. It made me better as an individual, and it made our relationship better. So I think that when you coddle your parents, you don't give them opportunities to grow and for your relationship to get better. And I also don't think that you have to continue a relationship with somebody who's not good to you.
In theory, I agree with you, but I have African parents, so like, absolutely not. Absolutely not. Like, just absolutely not. So, but I, in principle and theory, I agree. I think that, especially, you know, in American culture, I think that if you are in a family and your parents are toxic to you, then you should do whatever it is that you need to do to protect yourself and your mental health. And, you know, not everyone that is a parent is a great parent. And so as you get older, again, you have to do what's best for you. And if that means distancing yourself from those type of relationships, then, you know, that's what you should do. But that is not what happens with Africans. 100%. Thank God I have an amazing mama, because I don't know what I would do. Moving on then to Vanya and Tony. As of the taping of the show, they had been dating for 8 months. She says everything is going great. That is such a untrue qualifying statement, because then she goes on to say, but they have issues. And when she first started dating, she had not met angry Tony. Oh, but things are going well. This is all in one sentence, Abby.
All of that makes no sense whatsoever. I want to acknowledge that Olivia did answer the question.
Yeah. So parents will guilt trip you sometimes, and before you know it, you've spent your youth being tormented by them and your adulthood caring for them. She goes on to say, I have African parents, wasn't treated the best, and now in my adulthood, I'm guilt tripped to keep the relationship, visiting, caring, etc. Thank you for your vulnerability and your honesty and sharing, Olivia. And I'm sorry that that is what's happening. But I also understand the African perspective, and I'm sorry that that is your situation.
So yeah, what Vanya said altogether didn't make any sense. Like those sentences do not go together.
It's great, but we have issues. Angry Tony, but things are going well. What? Ross asked if they're living together. They're not. She's not moving in. She's stuck to her beliefs that she's not moving in until they're either are married or engaged. And she brought in her culture and said, this is just not how we do things. Courtney asked, what's the hesitation with the engagement? So they bring Tony out. That's what I should say. They bring Tony out. Tony was, for the first time me ever seeing him, not look like a slob. He actually had a suit on, a semi-suit on, and he looked like he had bathed. And I thought that that was great. Abby. So he sits down, they kiss, and like, this is the thing, you guys. This is what I thought when I saw this, okay? Before I even go further. You know, again, this is just overall speaking, you just really never know what's going on behind closed doors. And the couple that you meet out in public may or may not be the same couple that you see behind closed doors, because they came out. So first Vanya's saying, yes, everything's lovey-dovey, we have issues, but things are really going well. And then he comes on stage, they kiss, they hug, they hold hands, right? But then we get into the nitty-gritty of it. Courtney asks Tony, what's the hesitation for engagement? And the hesitation is a huge hesitation. It's kids, okay? She doesn't want them. She explains why she doesn't want them, because she feels like she's been parenting not only her siblings, but her parents since the age of 10. If you remember, when she came over to America, she had to translate for her parents. She had to do all the things. And many kids who are immigrant children have to do that for their families, because the parent doesn't understand the language or there's something. And so all of a sudden, this child is in an adult position translating adult conversations that they may or may not, they should or should not be a part of. So she has said, I don't want kids. She's like, not only do I not want them, it would be a punishment to me. And not everyone is meant to be a mother. And I just thought, that's the conversation as women we need to start having, being open and honest about our bodies, our choice, and reproduction. Not everyone has to be a mom, and that doesn't make you any less than a woman. You are not just birthed, you were not just created to be a birth giver. There's so many more layers to you, and your value is not in just childbearing, period, full stop. And so that's Vanya's stance. She doesn't want kids. She's never wanted kids. Tony's known that since their friendship days. Now here's where Tony says, oh, well, it's not a deal breaker. Like, it might make me happy, and maybe I don't want one, but then I see kids, my friends with kids, and I want one. No, you want one, period. And when you say the hesitation for getting engaged has nothing to do with kids, it absolutely does have something to do with kids. And I'm going to go ahead and say this. He says he loves Vanya enough to put that aside. We talked about this with, remember the girl that went over, Abby, to England? The vegan, the two vegans? And he said,
Yes,
oh,
yes. Gloria. No, Greta.
Greta. And
Mm-hmm.
her partner said, literally said, well, I can be dad enough for the both of us. No, listen to me. Listen to me. They're telling you these words. The words are coming out of their mouth. These two things are going to happen 100%. You're going to spend 2 years, 5 years, 10 years with this person. He's going to cheat on you. He's going to get a girl pregnant because he's always wanted to have a baby, and he's going to leave you. The fourth thing is he is going to resent you, resent you, resent you. The whole relationship. You might be doing all the things that he loves outside of that, but because he wants a baby, because he wants to be a father, he's going to be looking at you side-eye the whole time. That's why he hasn't proposed to her, because he's saying it's not important to him, but it's 100% important to him. And that is also why, as we move forward, why they're not having sex often, where he, like Gino says, oh, well, I have to have the right emotional atmosphere, and I have to have the right, like, sensual situation, all the things that he's saying. It's all because he wants to have a baby. He wants to have a baby. And because she doesn't want to have a baby, he's less attracted to her, period, full stop. Abby?
I have a hypothesis. I have a hypothesis based on absolutely nothing but meeting Tony's parents one time and my assumptions about his culture, their background, is that Tony is experiencing a conflict between what his parents want and what he wants, and his need or desire or cultural requirement to fulfill his parents' requests. So perhaps he really doesn't want children, but you know who wants grandchildren? His parents. Perhaps he doesn't care about religion, but you know who does? His parents. And so his ability to really commit to Vanya is limited by his need to fulfill what his parents expect from him. That's my hypothesis.
I don't not agree with you, but I do think he wants to have children.
I don't think that he should have any children. You know, whether he wants them or not, I don't know. But what I do know is that you shouldn't be wishy-washy about it. I don't think that wishy-washy people make very good parents. If you can't definitively say, I want to have children, then that's not a situation you want to be in. You're attracted to the idea of having children when you see them out and somebody else caring for them. You need to be in it for the spit up. You need to be in it for the blowout diapers. You need to be in it for the potential that they have special needs. You need to be in it for the potential that they are going to be colicky or have major allergies that change the entire way that your household consumes and processes food. If you are not ready and willing to take all that on, and all you're thinking about is the cute little goo goo gagas that you hear when you're out in public sometimes with people with their kids, then you don't need to have children.
And I also think too, you guys, you need to work on yourselves. Some of y'all need to just focus on yourself before you bring anyone else into this world. Period. Full stop. Gino, Tony, Cole, like, I could go on. Like, you all need to figure it out for yourself first before you decide that you're going to bring someone else into the world, because I just absolutely think it's not fair. I think it's not fair. Sanella, Vanya's cousin, comes out. She's like, you know what? I feel biased. And she basically hates Tony. She does. She hates him. Says, you know, I see you hurting my cousin all the time, and I can't forgive you for that. And you shouldn't be engaged ever.
Yeah, I love Sanella.
You are a monster that has anger issues. You go from 0 to 100 in a heartbeat. Tony acknowledges that he does blow up. And Sanella's like, yeah, you need help. Again, going off of what, like, you need help. You need help, period. And Sophie chimes in the back and says that Vanya and Tony's relationship is toxic. And this is where I was like, you guys know how I feel about Tony. Like, there's something does not sit right with me with him. And this is where he tried to gaslight the whole situation. So he's like, well, yeah, I brought up counseling. I know that I have anger issues. But then, you didn't go right away. And so you pretend that these issues are horrible. But I mean, if you thought that they were really that serious, we would have gone. She's like, Vanya's like, I was working 10-hour days. I want to go. But the 2 days that you gave me, I was working 10-hour days. See how he tried to flip that, you guys? He tried to flip it and make it seem like not only does she not want to go to counseling, but also my anger can't be that bad.
Mm-hmm.
Kim is like, that is the most narcissist thing you could say. And then we find out that, and this is what I loved Ross as the host for said, Vanya mentions that, she's given up dancing. And specifically, she's given up Latin dancing for him. Pachetta, that's what it is. Sensual pachetta. And Ross is like, do you feel like you're giving up part of yourself? And she's like, well, I get to do belly dancing still. And then Ross is like, you get to? You're allowed to? Why? And then Vanya says, because Tony doesn't like it. And then Ross says, well, what have you given up for Vanya? And this fool made it again about himself. He's like, I've given up my time. I drive 3 hours a day to be with her. And including in that 3 hours, you guys, is the hour it takes him to actually go to work. And speaking of work, allegedly, you guys, because, all season, I just couldn't believe it. But according to another blogger, I just can't believe it. Okay, so the rumors were Tony was one of those mental health therapists that got their doctorate from Dollar Tree LLC. Nope, he's a legit doctor. More specifically, he's a doctor of osteopathic medicine and hospitalist. Here's what that means for lay people. Osteopathic medicine is a branch of medicine that focuses on treating the whole person, not just symptoms and diseases. DOs are fully licensed physicians who can diagnose illnesses, prescribe medication, perform surgery, and work in all medical specialties, just like MDs. DOs also receive additional training, focus on preventative care, how the body systems work together, and hands-on techniques used to treat certain muscles and joint issues. I am shocked. Now, I cannot verify this information. That's just what's being reported. I am shocked. So, yeah, Ross says, what are you giving up? And he's giving up his driving time. And then Courtney says, well, how's the sex? Vanya says she wishes it was more often. They haven't had sex in a couple of weeks. And this is where he brings in that he has to be emotionally invested, Abby. It has to have a clear mind, just like Gino. And I was like, are you listening to his words? I can't understand why y'all are not listening to the words these men are saying. He is not emotionally invested in you. He is not emotionally invested in you. He's literally telling you he's not having sex with you because he's not emotionally invested in you. He needs to be emotionally invested and have a clear mind. And between his anger issues and not caring an F about you, that's why you're not having sex. Now you say, again, I don't understand you women who don't stand on your principles. You say that for you, it's more about the emotional connection and less about the sexual connection. And if you had to choose between the two, you would choose emotional connection. Who are you talking to?
You literally don't have to choose.
Not only do you not have to choose, you're the same person that was saying that you were celibate abstinent because that's how important sex is to you. So, like, what the hell are you talking about? I don't understand. Because he sucks in bed and doesn't want to have sex with you because he doesn't care about you. Now you don't care about sex either because he's a doctor and you want to be with him and he's your person.
I was so upset when she kept saying he's my person. He's like, in what world would your person require you to quit doing things that you love completely in order to satisfy their own ego?
And insecurities.
And insecurities, exactly. Like, in what world would your person have you subjected to a line of questioning from your parents without intervening or interfering or trying to cut it off? And like, why would they allow? I don't personally believe that if I'm dating someone who is truly my person, that they're ever going to put me in a situation where I'm going to be uncomfortable. If they know it's coming, I just don't believe they would do that to me. I just don't. And so if I ever found myself in that position, I would go, oh God, this is not really my person.
Yep.
Because you wouldn't do that to somebody else, Linda. I would never, like, we're not even in a romantic relationship, but I would never bring you around my friends who are atheists and let them ask you a bunch of religion-based questions just to poke. I would never do that.
I just think if you care about people, you don't put them in awkward situations, period, full stop. That's it. You don't. And then also, I think that you stand up for the people that you love. And
so if I wouldn't do that to you, then how could you ever believe that someone who is your romantic partner would allow that to happen?
That part, because he doesn't care about her. He doesn't care about her. He literally said he has to be emotionally invested, Abby. He's not. He doesn't care about her, period. But she wants to hold on so tight. I mean, again, he didn't even want to be in a relationship with you. Still doesn't want to be. Moving on to Liz. Ross first brings up Jason, her ex. She gets emotional. He wasn't the man that she thought he was. He had a girlfriend the whole time that he was with Liz, and that girlfriend he was with for a year. She moved to go to Washington State to be with him. She got pregnant, miscarried. He didn't step up to be there for her. And that was, I started crying for her because that is so to have to go through all of that. And then she said, I thought he loved me. He didn't. And then when she went to a free clinic to make sure that she was okay after the miscarriage, they did an ultrasound and that doctor said, I think you need a second opinion because he saw something that didn't look right to him. And that's how she found out that she had this cancer. And all of that, Jason was nowhere to be found. It's so sad. But now she has a new man and a ring. And they first bring out Via and Julia. And I was so confused by this, you guys, because I'm still confused by it. Okay, let me say this first. So Via and Liz have a long hug. And Ross is like, how did you feel about that? And she's like, oh, it's complicated. They play a clip from the Dominican Republic of how Via and Liz had an amazing time and it was so great. And Liz says to camera, but this is not long term. And Via says, well, I fell in love with Liz. And then they go back to studio, they pan over to Liz and they pan over to Via. They're both tearing up and upset again. He feels nervous. He can't look at her. Liz doesn't know what to say. She didn't know that he had said that he fallen in love with her. I'm going to pause there because I'm not sure if I have a cold, dead heart, but like me being in Jamaica at an all-inclusive, drinking all day, having parties, going on excursions and boats and frolicking around and meeting someone while I'm on vacation, I don't. How did you fall in love in a week? Like I don't know. You don't know that person. You didn't even know that person's last name. You don't even know where they live. You've never been to their house. You don't even know where they work. You don't know their situation. You don't know their history. You don't know their credit score. Like how? What love? What? Am I, Abby? Am I tripping or like?
No,
I
I
don't
agree. I was with, I don't know if it was Julia or whoever it was that was like, none of this is love. Everyone's just saying it's love. It's not love. Like,
Mm-hmm.
no, you were highly infatuated and curious about learning more about her.
And drunk.
And drunk and lustful. I simply am not willing to believe that it was love. Because even if you say like you love somebody at first sight, like you, what that means to me when people say that is that you were very attracted and you were very curious to get to know more about them. That's what I hear when somebody says love at first sight.
I agree 100%. Love at first sight is exactly what Abby just said. You're attracted to them, something about them you like, and you want to see more, period. So Via says he still has feelings for her. Liz said that she had love for him, which I laughed at because when people don't really love you, they say, I have love for you. But she didn't know that he felt that way. And this is when Julia said, can we just stop pretending this fake love? The first day Pedro was in the DR, he told us that Via is a hoe. And Courtney's like, yeah, and you're a good looking guy. You probably have a big roster at home. And Via's like, well, hoes can fall in love too. That made me laugh. Then they bring out Liz's new man, Alec. And I will say this, he was nothing that I thought he was going to be. But oftentimes, the person that you're supposed to be with looks nothing that you pictured. So Alex, her fiance, they had a fast proposal. So here's what happened. And this is how guys are, you guys. I promise you, I know it for sure. This is how guys are. So before she went to the Dominican Republic, they were hanging out, but they had no labels. They were not exclusive. They were not boyfriend and girlfriend, but he had feelings for her. She's like, hey, I'm going on this girls trip. I'm going to do what I'm going to do because I'm single. And she went. She thought she was going to be in the streets. But Liz doesn't really know how to be in the streets. She only knows how to go from relationship to relationship. So her being in the streets with Via equated to love, I guess. And they fell in love with each other, allegedly. So when she came back, her man was like, oh, like, I don't want her in the streets. Let me lock this down. And so they went from not even dating to being engaged, literally right after she got back from the Dominican Republic. So Ross is like, well, I guess you chose Alec over Via. And this is where it gets messy. So Ross is like, how's the sex? She's like, it's great. It's so great. He wants it every day. And he's like, yeah, why wouldn't I? And the word in the streets is coming from Ed, right? And we all know how Ed is, right? Ed is no Ed. But there's no one like Liz in the bedroom. And then this is where Courtney and her hot mic thinks she's whispering to Pedro, but you got a mic on, girl. It's catching everything. Courtney whispers, Liz and Jamal had sex, and everyone heard it because you're mic'd. And then Pedro, who just he doesn't know how to whisper or keep a secret or keep the tea. He's like, what? What did you say? And Pedro's like, oh, what did you say, Courtney? And Courtney's just sitting there, and Kim calls it out and says, I heard Jamal's name, my son. And then Julia calls it out and says, the first day they were in the Dominican Republic, Liz said her and Jamal are so close to each other. And we were like, how can you be so close? And Jamal and Liz had sex. And Kim gets mad and says, I know about the flirting because when we filmed Pillow Talk, Jamal and Liz were flirting. And then Colt says, well, it sounds like a lot of pillow talk was going on. And Kimberly cuts him a look. Don't talk to me right now. she feels sick. She's upset. She feels that Liz crossed the line as her best friend and then asks her, "Did you have sex with Jamal?" And Liz doesn't answer and says, "Jamal has to be out here to talk about this." And then Kimberly looks her dead in her face and says again, "Did you have sex with Jamal?" And then that's when she said, "A long, long time ago." Nothing since then. Kimberly freaks out, says, "Girl, bye, F you, Liz," and walks out and says, as she's walking out, that I've been there so much for you. And this is disgusting. Now, I don't understand what the problem is. Do you?
Okay. I think that Kim has a lot of issues. That would not be my issues. My issue would be if we are talking every day, I would feel like that's something that you should have disclosed to me.
Okay,
if
yeah.
you're talking every day. Now, Kim's issues may be completely different from mine. She may have, this relationship she has with Jamal is borderline inappropriate to me. And so her issues may be stemming from a completely different place.
I didn't think of that. Yeah, if you're my best friend, then why didn't you tell me?
Yeah, you should never let me be surprised by it. That's one of my rules.
Yeah.
If you care about me, you're not going to ever let me be surprised by anything.
Yeah. Okay, yeah. Because I was like, well, I don't understand what she's so upset about, because they're similar in age and, both single at the time. So if they were attracted to each other, big deal. But now that I see what you're saying, where, if that's your best friend, then, that's something, and that's the best friend's son, then that's something you probably should have disclosed to her.
Yeah. So that's where do we have Jamal now? I know that he had a relationship with Veronica at some point, and so now him and Liz had something going on. Who else is Jamal linked up with?
Jamal and Emma are dating. Remember, that's why he left.
Oh, that's right. Emma.
He left 90 Day Bad Boys because Emma also slept with Rob, and so there was some weird situation, and now it's him and Emma. That's that.
Right. Like Olivia said, I would never tell Courtney or Pedro anything, especially not secrets. They would be the worst. They would be the worst. And Jamal apparently also hooked up with Natalie. Okay.
Crazy Natalie? Josh's Natalie? I haven't heard that.
You know what? I could see that. I could see that.
I can't. But okay. You guys, that is part 1 of the tell-all, and I think part 2 is going to be just as juicy. You guys, don't forget to like and subscribe to all of our social media stuff. We're going to come right back, though, because we are also covering today the original OG 90 Day Fiance. So come back and join us in just a few moments. Bye. Thanks, Olivia.